I set a challenge for myself this month and I'm halfway through and kind of failed, but kind of winning at the same time, which is interesting. So let me explain. Now, at the beginning of the month, I decided that I wanted to try and climb this particular climb here in Palma called CYCLIST. It's barely 10 minutes from the front of my door to the start of the climb. And it's about 20 minutes long. Well, 20 minutes long is the goal for me. So my current best time is, I think, about 21 minutes 40. And my goal is to try and get to under 20 minutes in this climb. It's an interesting climb. It's kind of like four parts. There's a climbing part, a flat part, a climbing part, a flat part. So in a way, it's kind of a good challenge to do efforts, but you need to really target those fast, flat sections because otherwise your overall time, in my experience, as a non-real climber person, you just don't get that sort of time. And it's interesting because I think for the first week and a half, first 10 days, I did the climb every single day. And a few of those days, that's all I did. It was like 20 minutes climbing and then so however many minutes to get back home and best part of an hour sort of ride. And what was interesting that, so even though it was only 20 minutes of climbing, I could really feel the fatigue come in. And for me, climbing doesn't come naturally. I feel like I have to really work at climbing much stronger, much happier, much more in my element when it's flat and I can sprint and I can put big watts out and it isn't flat. And it doesn't seem to translate to climbing for me. So that's part of the challenge for me was to, I guess, a bit of an arbitrary sort of number. I literally have no idea if it's physically possible for me to get this under 20 minutes. But a big part of it was firstly to get over the mindset and this thought in my head that I can't climb, because I know that's not true. I may not be the fastest, that's the truth, that I'm not the fastest at climbing, but I'm faster than other people and other people are faster than me. So part of it was getting over that mindset of like, I can't climb and just doing it. Part of it was like having no decision making and no having to think about where am I going to ride today? Like the decision is already made for me. Like actually the idea for this came from a friend that I met on the ride on this climb late last year. And he was saying that he rides it pretty much every single day. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do that, because being so close to the city, if you've only got an hour to spare and you want to get out onto quiet roads without having to have much traffic, it is literally ideal for that because, yep, you can go up, you can turn around and come straight back home, or you can go up and you can go and turn and do a longer loop further around the track. So I think that's been interesting from that perspective as well. Firstly, coming over the mindset of like, I can't do it. And there's so many different ways that can limit us in so many areas of our life, whether it's nutrition, whether it's the training. If we think we can or can't do something, then we won't or we can't sort of do it. So a big part of it for me was just like pushing myself out of my boundaries and doing more climbing. Secondly, I think it's also been really interesting to see how much it has helped with my mental health. I've always known that I'm a happy person anyway, but I'm so much happier when I exercise. And for me, I kind of need to do about an hour or two of exercise every day. It's very good for emotional regulation and for dopamine regulation and happiness. I think I've learned in later life that this is probably something for me in my ADHD that's really helpful to expend energy. I think the challenge is then finding how much effort do you put in that doesn't drain you? And for me, the climbing is quite draining. Whereas if I went for an hour cruise along the coast, it wouldn't drain me quite so much. So I think there's something for me to play around with there, but that's not the challenge. The challenge right now is climbing and improving my climbing. And what was interesting is that I think the end of last week, I kind of cracked a little bit in terms of like, I was busy, I had a lot of stuff going on. And there was a couple of times that it was going to be like a really stupid time at night. Didn't really feel comfortable riding that time of night on my own as a woman, which I'm sure many women can relate to. But I gave myself a get out of jail card or a bit of 2 or 3 clauses at the beginning of the month. Like my intention was that I wanted to climb every single day, but I figured probably would be a scenario that I wouldn't or couldn't be able to do that for whatever reason. And so I decided, okay, if I can't climb it every day, that means I have to either climb it twice the next day, or I have to have done a long ride, a big ride that has over 2,000 meters of climbing, or I have to ride up CYCLIST. Because I'm the type of person, if I'm given the choice of going over a hill or going around the hill. I will go around the hill. I would much rather have a headwind on the flat any day over a climb. But I obviously enjoy the climbing for the views and the descents. That's really amazing. And part of my challenge is at the moment is building up that strength and that weakness that I have on the climbing, because I know that's my weakest link. And obviously to get better at something, you have to practice, you have to tweak, you have to test, you explore and adjust. And so that's what I'm currently doing and learning, because I'm going to do the Tour de France Femme L'Etape in the beginning of August. And there's going to be a stupid amount of climbing in that, which I need to be prepared and ready for. So that's a big part of this challenge, is like getting myself prepared, stronger, ready for that. And what is really interesting is that even though I haven't really made any time up on CYCLIST as itself as the whole climb, there's elements of that climb that I'm getting faster at. There's elements of that climb that I'm getting more efficient at. And I could really see that in action on this weekend just gone, because I rode to CYCLIST. I can't even remember how long the ride was, but it was stupidly hot. It was like 40 degrees most of the ride. And two of the key climbs, so yeah, I think I was a minute 40 faster on that climb, and I was a minute 55 faster, I think, on CYCLIST. So both of those are quite considerable climbs. One's about 30 minutes and the other one was just shy of an hour for me. And seeing the improvements on those longer climbs, I think gives me some hope that there is definitely improvement going to be happening in CYCLIST when I give myself enough rest to recover and to then target the fast sections where I can gain time, as well as the climbing sections. So I think it's really interesting. Like, are you the type of person that likes having these internal challenges? Because ultimately, yeah, it doesn't really mean anything for me to whether I achieve it or not. Part of it is the challenge of pushing myself, testing my boundaries, figuring what does and doesn't work for me. And I think I found that having a goal is so helpful for me to give reason and meaning for something, because I find, especially when it comes to training, because if I need to have a real reason as to why this is important to me. And I think a lot of people might relate to that as well. So obviously I've got this event in a couple of weeks' time in France, and I want to be, I have no intention of winning that, or the just goal is to finish it and have a great day. But I know that if I'm stronger on the climbs, then that is going to lead to having a much better, much happier day when I'm in France. But I don't know, it's such an interesting sort of thing to start seeing, testing, tweaking and adjusting, whether it's the nutrition. I'm going to be doing a bit of playing around this week with, especially with the heat, some like with ice slushies and with a couple other different things with my nutrition about fueling it, because I found, and I see this in practice with my clients as well, that even though it's only an hour, when you don't fuel it, you feel it afterwards so much, especially when you've got like limited time to recover and you have a job and you have to work. So a lot of times when I'm talking with my clients one-on-one, obviously we've got the performance for the training and the racing, 100%, but also the way that you fuel in training is then going to have a knock-on impact on how you recover, the energy you have for your job, the energy you have for everyday life, being with your family, being present. And there's a couple of these sessions in the last week that I was doing where I was just literally going up and straight back down again. And I perhaps didn't fuel them as optimally. And I probably had like 30 or 40 grams of carbs during, but maybe I didn't eat so well in the hours beforehand, or maybe I didn't recover with my nutrition afterwards, and intentionally making some of the mistakes that my clients were making. And what was really interesting was just seeing how rubbish it made me feel, because like typically as my baseline standard is 50 to 60 grams of carbs for all of the rides that I do, and a mixture of solid or real food or drinks occasionally. With the heat now, because yeah, as I said, it was about 40 degrees for most of the ride. I fully cracked on the ride home. I was so tired. I was just so done. I think just so physically hot. When you're coping with, you've got heat stroke in your body. I think I drank 8 bottles on that particular ride, and I would have still been a couple of kilos lighter. I probably should have weighed myself after to see how much weight that I lost in that ride. But when you're riding in the heat, it knocks it out of you. It knocks off your speed. It knocks off your concentration, your reaction time. And we want to be testing and experimenting with these things in training when it doesn't matter, so that we can make a plan and find the best approach for an event or a race when it does matter. It's obviously like this event that I'm training for at the moment. It's a big day. I think it's only about 112 kilometers, but it's at least 3,500 meters of climbing. It's just constant. Basically, it's up. It's going to be a lot of up. And nutrition strategy for that is then going to be based upon what I can tolerate in the heat, because I'm expecting it to be hot, and what I can tolerate when I'm putting out a lot of effort. So it's probably going to be a little bit more drinks and gels and experiments like that. So I'll tell you more of those in the next couple of weeks if you're interested. So let me know in the comments or share as to what you think I should be trying or experimenting more on if you are a climber, because I'm definitely out of my element here when it comes to sort of climbing. But that's all for today. Like, subscribe, feel you right, and I'll see you next time.